Alright, so about an hour ago at E3, Ubisoft announced officially Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We are kind of time traveling backward. Michael got to go to Ubisoft recently in Canada to try out the game for about 5 hours, but it's been embargoed. We can finally publish this video. Michael, what are some of the key strokes of Assassin's Creed Odyssey that people might want to know?
There are two things that stood out to me. They're going all in on being an RPG. Now we got a little bit of that in Origins with like how the gear works out and combat and stuff, but they're going all in with branching dialogue, almost like Mass Effect, and quest structure, very much like Witcher 3.
Kira's right. Taking them head on would be suicide.
Sailing here was suicide! Right now, my men are on the beach. That's where I'll be!
Now, I straight up asked them about like, oh, did you get some inspiration from The Witcher 3? Like, this is probably the best designed game in terms of how side quests feed into the main story. And they're like, yeah, straight up, like we looked at with The Witcher 3 and it really shows. So that's probably the number one thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, that always seems to be almost like a feature bullet point on a lot of games, branching dialogue, meaningful choices. But from your time, it actually seems like they are implementing it.
Yeah, and that was kind of my impression at first too, because it's like, oh, you're just gonna give me like 3 different lines to say to someone.
Yeah, and just like a different ways to say yes, I'll help you with your quest or whatever.
Yeah, and it all leads to the same road. Mm-hmm. And at first, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is cool. I like having some sort of agency in how the story plays out. And then, and also, what I realized is that they do affect later on down the line. Like, so there's dialogue choices that you like, what you say to people, but also what side quests you actually take on and finish, and how you finish them. So I didn't realize that at first, because in my 5 hours that I played, there was a main line, and then there were side quests around it. And then by the time I got to the conclusion of the main quest line, that's when everything else I did I saw it play out at that conclusion.
So it kind of sounds like it's like kind of area specific though, right? Like you help these side quests in this area, you complete this quest in this area, they kind of feed in. Like I mean, you only got to see a slice, right? Like a certain area. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious if all of those regions sort of interlock with characters as well, or if it's just area specific.
So I can't really say, because I only spent time with 2 different islands, but if they were talking about going all in as an RPG, so I would expect that too. If if that's their main message through revealing this game, and also from the demo that we saw, I feel like I would expect that now, to see that throughout the entire game.
Yeah, this is the one thing that I felt was missing in Origins, because Ubisoft was doubling down on the fact that this is an RPG. You're gonna find loot, you're gonna level up, you're gonna do all this, but there's no player agency in terms of like the story. You still follow Bayek's story. And this seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely here.
Yeah, despite being an RPG, there wasn't much role playing.
Yeah,
Did you play The Witcher 3? Do you like it?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it.
I was just kidding. Jake's played like 6 times through the game. You were kind of lukewarm on Origins, from what I remember. I know you like appreciated it, but does that actually, you being probably the biggest Witcher fan we know, does that make you excited for this? Even though it is the first in they renewed their annual release schedule. Are you excited for this?
Yeah, I'm excited, and one of the big reasons too I'm also excited was because based on the gameplay you've shown us and you captured, this also is like a follow-up to Black Flag, which is, as someone who doesn't like Assassin's Creed all that much, that one's my favorite, and it seems like that's a similar story to most people. They're like, I don't like Assassin's Creed that much, but I like Black Flag. So I'm very interested in that as well. Yeah,
Black Flag was a very good pirate game with Assassin's Creed elements.
Exactly.
I love Assassin's Creed. I've played every game at this point. I really liked Origins. But you tell me, there was naval combat in Origins when you were with, the name escapes me, it was Bayek's partner. You were commanding in a flashback, the Navy with her. But you were saying this is like full on like island hopping, naval focus with like ground combat almost alongside it instead of overshadowing it.
So Black Flag was like these long stretches of nothing. Does it feel more compressed this time, or are there like giant expansive seas with like an island with a palm tree on it?
Well, the thing is that at least looking at the map, well, again, I only had access to 2 islands, but looking at the whole map, it seems like it's a huge map, but the actual sea is like you can get to things pretty fast. So I don't expect there to be like a lot of open space, empty waters, and wherever I was sailing to, there was always like Athenian ships to attack. So it didn't feel bare. And instead, so with Origins, a lot of the main thing for me is there was a lot of just desert and there's like nothing to do, which is fine because it's thematically fitting, I suppose. But here it's like that same sized map is now filled in with the sea and with this whole naval combat approach. And there's, at least from what I've saw so far, is that this naval combat is a lot like Black Flag, where you're boarding ships after you take them down and you're getting loot, and there's missions tied to that. So I would expect at least them to fill up the seas with fun and interesting things to do. And again, for my 5-hour demo, like I see it, but I just want to make sure that that's perpetuated throughout the game.
Yeah. Did you care much for Origins? Did you play much of it?
I appreciate what it did in terms of okay, we took the year off and then we're reinventing how combat works.
Yeah.
And we're building this character of Bayek. I really like Bayek, so that was kind of my hook for Origins.
Yeah, it's which I like because again, like Black Flag was to me a very good pirate game, but the Assassin's Creed elements, the combat on the ground, the way like they still had those annoying quests where you had to tail somebody for 10 minutes, hide in the bushes, an NPC's gonna run into you. That stuff, the vestigial old Assassin's Creed stuff annoyed me. The idea of a new Black Flag-ish naval-focused game with actual really good Assassin's Creed stuff attached to it sounds unreal, and I'm actually really happy they're going in this direction.
Yeah. Another thing too, who do you play in this game? Because you don't play Bayek, right?
No, it's not. It's not Bayek, but so the main character is, they have Spartan roots, but when you're dropped into the game, you're neither, like by definition, you're neither Spartan or Athenian, and I expect that you're supposed to kind of forge your own path. But at the outset, you either choose the male or female version of the same character. So it's kind of like that Mass Effect male shepherd and female shepherd.
Yeah.
Like their lines of dialogue are the same. The delivery obviously is going to be different because of different voice actors.
I was hoping when the smoke clears we could find somewhere quiet.
But they are essentially the same character. They're not like, was it Jacob and Evie from Syndicate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so they're not both like in the story?
No.
It's like you pick one and that's it.
It's one or the other.
That'd be interesting. I'm curious how they're gonna do that with like, I guess Assassin's Creed lore. Like, I wonder how that'll fit in. But I mean, I feel like Assassin's Creed lore is already like a mess. Like only a couple people have really can nail it down.
It's a less complicated timeline than the Zelda games.
Yeah, it's something that I don't think about when I play an Assassin's Creed game.
So did they say anything what's going on historically at this point? So this is a prequel to Origins, right?
Well, the modern day story is a continuation with Layla.
With all the Abstergo stuff?
So it's a continuation of that in the present day.
Okay.
But I mean, in terms of the theme with the ancient Greece, obviously that's before what happened in Origins.
Which would put this at the very beginning of the timeline, because Origins was the earliest one.
This is like
before
hella Origins.
So there's like not even the Assassin's Creed
Origins.
And that's what some
so this
people.
is definitely not an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, and some people are thinking like, oh, is this like maybe the Templars' origin story or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
But I don't have really any clues as to how this is going to tie into Assassin's Creed as a whole story-wise, because they were very. I mean, of course, you want to keep that under wraps before the game comes out. So
honestly, it's one of those things I couldn't care less about.
Oh, really?
Like
Yeah.
I just want to play this. I want to be a Spartan pirate.
I don't really care about the Abstergo assassin stuff anymore. I mean, I say I don't, I secretly do. But I actually, the historical stuff, I mean, if they're going for Spartans and they don't somehow touch on Thermopylae, I feel like that would be weird. And in that case, this would take place during like the Persians invading the rest of the world and Xerxes like actually playing a part in it. Who knows what's actually going to happen?
This is taking place during the Peloponnesian War in like 400 BC.
How about that Spartan kick though?
Hey, there's a lot of Spartan kicks.
I watched the gameplay clip of you just like just enemies lined up in front of you, like by the boat, and you just kick one after the other off the boat, and they fly like 20 feet.
But that ties into another thing too, is that the way in which you use the different abilities, they're like kind of tied to shoulder buttons or the left trigger and the left bumper. so going into more mechanics, they have like the same like skill trees and stuff, but you can map so many different abilities to when you engage in combat, and like I like what Origins did with their combat. It's kind of the same here in terms of feel and how it's kind of sluggish to me, but the fact that I have like Spartan kicks and like shield breaks, and also like I can shoot like 3 arrows at the same time. This is also like a step forward, so it's a little bit more fun to play because I have all these tools now instead of just like timing dodges and parries.
Yeah.
Are there, all right, so unless there are any major points you want to hit on, I think my main, maybe not worry, the thing I'm preoccupied with, and obviously like a lot of commenters when they first announced the game on Twitter, were saying, oh, they're going back to yearly releases again. And we knew they would. Obviously, you said Origins took a year off, and it showed. I think they revamped the systems they needed to. From you said 5 hours of the game or something over a week or a weekend. Are you coming away from that demo up at Ubisoft excited or overall a little bit apprehensive?
Coming off Origins and then moving on to playing Odyssey, like I'm genuinely excited for this because I think the RPG elements is the thing that does it for me. Because as fun as it is to explore these historical open worlds, having control of how the story plays out, because that means something to me. And Assassin's Creed's always been like, here, we're gonna package a story for you. Like you are going to see a story unfold, but here you are an active participant. And I believe that Ubisoft can pull it off, especially with this demo where, I decided to let a prisoner live, and I forgave him. It's like, yo, you killed some people, but I think you can be a good person, so I'm gonna let you go. And then in the conclusion, he ends up killing one of my allies in retaliation for some reason. But like, if there's a lot of those moments sprinkled throughout the game, then I'm like constantly like thinking about my decisions. How do I take this quest? How do I conclude this side quest? Because this person might pop up in the main quest, and those type of things excite me.
Like you said, all the other ones, like all the Assassin's Creed games, package a story for you that you follow, and having this, I feel like, adds a lot more replay value. Like it's something to talk about. Like, oh, this happened to me. What happened to you? And plus, like you said, also, I think Origins, like while I criticize that game a lot, I think it built a pretty solid foundation that hopefully I don't get sick of too soon, but only time will tell.
Yeah, I was excited when they first announced it, but hearing your thoughts on it has put my mind at ease a little bit more. But anyway, we have like 4 days left of E3, so I'll see you guys later.
Peace out, man.